Welcome to By the Numbers, where with the help of my AI assistant Fanda, we'll gather the data on your favorite fictional worlds, then snub them when the Fandom Entertainment Awards roll around.
I figured out how tall Tom Cruise is in all of his movies last year, and still didn't get nominated in the Best Height Calculation category.
So it goes. Today you'll be breaking down how the Best Director category works, and help us understand why Greta Gerwig didn't get nominated for her work on Barbie, a movie that was highly reviewed and grossed approximately $1 bazillion.
$1,445,638,421 worldwide to be exact.
Thank you, Fanda. Now we're all aware that there's only 5 nominees in this category, which means it's statistically improbable to be nominated at all. But it inspired me to dig a little deeper into the category and get a clearer idea of why Gerwig got snubbed harder than Alan at a Ken convention. This is the Academy Award for Best Director by the Numbers. To begin, we'll analyze how women directors tend to fare in the category. Spoiler alert, not good! Then we'll take a look at the category's bias against comedies and PG-13 movies. And before diving into a bonus round, we'll tease out the inverse relationship between box office performance and Best Director noms. Okay, Fanda, let's begin with a quick overview of all the Best Director nominees, winners, and trends since the Oscars' inception in 1929.
Scanning. A real sausage fest in here, huh? Displaying results.
Since 29, there's been 476 nominations for Best Director. Remember, since the same directors get nominated multiple times, only 250 directors have ever gotten the nod. 8 of those 250 have been women, amassing a grand total of 9 nominations. That makes for a whopping 1.89% of nominations going to female directors. Although if you restrict the scope to just this century, that number climbs to 6%. Progress! Statistically speaking, Gerwig's first nomination for Lady Bird was already rare. For her to get nominated again would be a miracle. Only one woman in Oscars history has ever been nominated twice for Best Director, Jane Campion, and hers took place 28 years apart, with The Piano in '94 and again in '22 for Power of the Dog. Also working against Greta, this year's nomination of Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall. Once again, there's only been 1 year in all of Oscars history where more than one woman got nominated in the category. So yeah, while the Oscars are trending in a less biased direction, being a woman still puts you at a severe statistical disadvantage for receiving a Best Director nomination, even more so than the number of female-directed films overall would indicate. Next up, I'm wondering what else may have been working against Greta and the Big B's chances. Fanda, how do comedies fare in the Best Director category? What about PG-13 movies? And check on female-led films as well.
Scanning. Céline Sciamma should have been nominated for Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Displaying results.
When it comes to comedies in the Best Director category, the Academy is not amused. Only 16% of the 285 movies nominated since 1968 can be considered a comedy or comedy adjacent. The fantasy element doesn't really help either, as the only nominated comedy fantasies in history are Babe, Midnight in Paris, Being John Malkovich, Poor Things, Heaven Can Wait, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. How about ratings? In 1985, PG-13 was created, because parents would bring their little boys to go see Temple of Doom, but leave with little men. Since then, just 27% of the nominated films have a PG-13 rating, and only 30% of those took home an Oscar. Interesting note, of the 9 nominated films directed by women, all of them have an R rating, and only 3 of those have comedic elements, so the numbers are really stacking up against Barbie here. Also since 1968, just 17% of the films nominated have had a female lead, whether they were directed by a woman or not. Kudos to nominations for films like Thelma and Louise, Promising Young Woman, $1 Million Baby, The Hours, Crouching Tiger, Mulholland Drive, Terms of Endearment, Tess, and Black Swan, which, now that I think about it, all end with that female lead character dying. You want an Oscar? You should have offed her. Next up, Fanda, I want you to analyze the box office totals of the films in this category so we can determine if films like Barbie are too successful to be nominated, if that makes sense.
Scanning. It's controversial, but I think Julia Ducournau should have been nominated for T10. Displaying results.
Here are the overall numbers for the 9 films directed by women that got noms. 2 of them, Nomadland and The Hurt Locker, are the lowest grossing films to win a Best Director Oscar since '68. And since then, only 9 nominations went to the highest grossing movie of their respective years. Domestically, Barbie is the 39th highest grossing film of all time. Only 12 of the 100 highest grossing films of all time got Best Director nominations. Big money doesn't guarantee a Best Director nomination. In fact, it appears to work against you. So in conclusion, if you're wondering why Greta Gerwig wasn't nominated for Barbie, it's because she's a female director who made a PG-13 comedy starring a woman who didn't die, and it made a bunch of money. All of those were factors that were statistically working against her. Just out of curiosity, Fanda, was there anything about Barbie helping her chances?
Yes. Greta Gerwig co-wrote the film. 8 of the nominated female-directed films were written by the director.
Okay, Barbie has 8 other nominations including Best Picture. Does that help?
Only 22 of the over 600 movies nominated for Best Picture have been directed by a woman. and only 9 of those received Best Director nods, so a Best Picture nomination doesn't guarantee anything.
Does Barbie's 80% Metacritic score come into play? Is that too low?
The average Metacritic score for the 9 nominated films is 87.8%. Promising Young Woman has the lowest with a 72%, and all the others have a 86% or higher score. I guess a higher score could have been better according to the nominees.
Final question, Fanda, and this one might be a doozy. Are things getting any better for women filmmakers in the industry?
Scanning, losing hope, displaying results.
It's still bleak, but more than half the Best Director nominations have come since 2017. Post-2000, there's been 17 films directed by women nominated for Best Picture. Currently, Ava DuVernay and Suzanne Bier are 2 of the 3 governors of the director's branch. These are the people who admit new members and conduct the nomination process for Best Director. Since 2017, 38% of the people invited to join and vote were women. Not everyone accepts, but it's trending up compared to previous years. And now the bad news. According to the Annenberg Institute, women directed just 4% of the top-grossing 1,200 films from 2007 to 2018. Of those female directors, only 17% got to direct another movie beyond their debut feature. By contrast, 46% of men who made a top movie in the last decade got to direct more. In 2015, 0 of the major film studios were headed by a woman. In 2020, 18% of film studio heads were women. And if you think Best Director and Best Picture was grim for women, only 3 of them have ever been nominated for Best Cinematography, and 2 of them worked on films directed by women, Mudbound and Power of the Dog. So change is happening, but slowly, unevenly, and unfairly to the talented women who will never get a chance to make what would have been your favorite films of tomorrow. Yes, Barbie made $1 zillion and got nominated in a bunch of other categories, but it's up to you to decide. Is that really enough? As always, thank you for watching, and thank you to my family, my agents, my managers, everyone at the studio, Fanda, thank you so much for this. Wait, I'm not done.
Be sure to like and subscribe.